This is not about Africa. This is about where the next center of global power will be anchored. Not through war. Not through invasion. But through minerals, young labor, and who builds the system first. And right now, Africa is becoming a testing ground for how global power is reorganized. For decades, Africa was treated as an object. A future market. A crisis zone. A destination for aid and projects. It was seen as a place to be managed. Not a place where the architecture of global power could be shaped. That position is changing. Africa is no longer just being discussed as a development challenge. It is being treated as a strategic node. Not because of sympathy. Not because of ideology. But because this is where demography, minerals, and supply chains converge. On the surface, this looks like development. Beneath it, this is competition for position inside the global system. And what is at stake is not who helps Africa. It is who shapes its orbit. Over the last 3 decades, the world's economic center shifted toward Asia. Factories moved. Supply chains moved. Growth followed. Now strategic pressure is shifting again. Toward another region once seen as peripheral, Africa. Its population is growing faster than anywhere else. Its workforce is the youngest. And its reserves of strategic minerals are among the largest. Cobalt. Lithium. Rare earth elements. Inputs for batteries. For artificial intelligence. For clean energy. For future industries. These are not development statistics. They are the foundations of 21st century industrial power. If Africa integrates successfully into global production systems, it could become the 3rd largest economic bloc in the world. Not because it is rich today, but because it becomes the next center of accumulation. If it fails, it becomes a competitive arena again. Important, but not economically sovereign. This is where the system test begins. Power no longer enters through tanks. It enters through capital. Through contracts. Through infrastructure. Through production networks. Railways. Ports. Data centers. Power grids. Digital cables. They appear technical. But they are strategic. Capital only flows into systems it can trust. Where law is enforced. Where currencies are stable. Where political risk can be priced. This is not about ethics. It is about how capital works. Whoever creates predictability attracts investment. Whoever attracts investment attracts technology. And whoever attracts technology builds long-term influence. In modern systems, power does not come from controlling territory. It comes from controlling flows of goods, of data, of energy, and of finance. At the same time, demographic pressure is working in the background. One side of the world is aging. Its workforce is shrinking. Its growth is slowing. The other side is expanding. Tens of millions enter working age each year. Africa and Europe together contain hundreds of millions of children and young people. If large portions of them fail to enter productive economies, the pressure does not stay in Africa. It appears as migration. It enters domestic politics in advanced economies. It reshapes border policy. It influences elections. It alters security debates. This is why economic relations are being reframed. Not as aid, but as partnership. But beneath the language of partnership is a structural interest, keeping Africa linked to one system and not fully absorbed into another. Because whoever builds the economic system today shapes political alignment tomorrow. The systemic shift is visible. In the past, power was defined by industry and military force. Today, it is defined by supply chains, energy, data, and demography. Africa has all four. That is why trade agreements are being rewritten. That is why state-backed investment vehicles are expanding. That is why digital infrastructure is prioritized. All of it looks technocratic. All of it functions as influence. Who builds the digital networks? Shapes the data architecture? Who builds logistics corridors? Controls trade routes? Who finances energy systems? Locks in long-term access? This is not about goodwill. It is about position inside the system. And systems are never neutral. They favor those who design them. Underscore 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 underscore. So who benefits? Africa. If it can define its own terms. If institutions strengthen. If political stability holds. If law is enforced. If contracts are credible. External powers. If they succeed in pulling Africa into their economic orbit. Making it part of their supply chains. Their markets. Their infrastructure networks. Who risks losing? Actors who extract without building systems. Investors who enter without strengthening institutions. And African states that fail to establish legal and political foundations. Because in this system, minerals alone are not enough. A young population alone is not enough. What matters is institutional quality. Whether contracts hold, debt is managed, and stability can be maintained over time. Without that, demographic advantage becomes social pressure. Resource wealth becomes vulnerability. So this is not the question of whether Africa will rise. The real question is, inside whose orbit it will rise. If Africa builds balanced partnerships, it becomes a new center of gravity. Not an object, but a node in the global system. If it does not, it returns to being a field of competition, where external systems collide, without creating internal foundations. Africa's century may come, but its shape is still being negotiated. And that negotiation has already begun.